My name is Jojo, and welcome to your hour-long Vinyasa Flow yoga practice. And so today we'll be getting moving and being on our feet and finding a balance between strength, flexibility, and finding a flow with the breath. So linking sometimes one breath to one movement. So we'll go ahead and get started in just a comfortable seat. So whatever that means to you, if you've got maybe a blanket or a bolster that you would like to prop up your seat a little further away from the floor, give yourself some cushion, then that's great. You can find that underneath you. Maybe your comfortable seat is cross-legged, or maybe it's more of a feet together position. Let your arms rest. Your hands could rest in your lap or on your legs. And shut your eyes, or if shutting your eyes is uncomfortable, you could turn your gaze down toward the tip of your nose and smooth out your eyelids, let them soften. Just let your whole face soften. And take a little mental scan through not just your physical body, but maybe your mind, your emotions, your energy, and just taking a scan, taking a moment to observe without any judgment or need to change. Just taking a look and observing where you're at right now in this moment. For more relaxation, you may want to take some deep breaths with your mouth open. You could take some sighs out your mouth. For more heat, you could keep your lips closed and inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. Bring a little bit of constriction in the back of your throat for some sound and even more heat. Just a little to ignite a little fire and bring some sound. That's your Ujjayi pranayama. Pranayama just means your breath work. And Ujjayi is your victorious breath. So that ignites some more heat. You could always switch if you're taking one and want to do the other. And note that anything that I offer today, any pose, is a suggestion. You can always modify, or you could always come to a place of rest if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel you lose your connection to your breath, if you want to take a moment. You could come back to some place like this, like a neutral seat or another resting pose, and just bring your focus back to breathing deep and steady. Speaking of offering any pose, I'll also offer an intention today, and if you have something else in your mind, then that's great. You can continue on that path. I'll offer the intention today of finding a sense of groundedness. So this will be physical, but I encourage you to also think about more metaphorically what gives you a sense of grounding in your life, and dedicate your yoga practice to cultivating that sense of being stable and grounded. If you closed your eyes, blink them open, or if you looked down, look back out in front of you, awaken your sense of sight. Take your right hand down to the ground over on your right side. Inhale, lift your left arm up and over your ear, your head. You could walk your right hand out or bend your right elbow. Keep both sides of your seat down on the ground. Roll your top shoulder down, open your chest. You could experiment with your gaze. Take it down, out, or up. If you find a spot that's uncomfortable and you want to switch, just experiment and play. Take your last inhale, and then on your exhale, point your chest toward the ground, bring both hands down. Walk or slide your hands through the center and all the way to the other side. Plant your left hand. Inhale, reach your right arm up over your ear. Up and over, stretch your right side out long. Find your spot to gaze. We're gonna start a little flow. So inhale to prepare. Exhale, drop both hands, point your chest down, swing around through the center. Inhale, lift your left arm. Exhale, point your chest down, come through the center. Inhale, lift your right arm by your ear, open up. Exhale, drop, swing around. Inhale, lift your left arm up. Exhale, drop, swing around. This is your last side. Inhale, reach your right arm up. Exhale, come through the center and stay there for a forward fold. Both hands down. You could bend your elbows and lower down. Lengthen the back of your neck by slightly tucking your chin. Breathe into your back to create more space all the way along your spine and your back. Walk or slide your hands back up toward you. Find a tall seat. Inhale, lift both arms over your head. Touch your palms together. Exhale, bring your hands in front of your heart. Now twist. Turn your chest open to the right and take your left hand onto your right leg. Your right hand can find the floor or it can find your hip. Roll your shoulder down your back. Broaden your collarbones. And root to rise, so you're growing in the vertical plane, you're anchored down through your sits bones, and then lift through the crown of your head, find a long spine. One more inhale, exhale, swing around through the center. Inhale, lift both arms over your head, draw your hands in towards your heart, exhale, and twist. Over to the opposite side this time, so your left hand can find the floor behind you or your hip, and your right hand finds your left leg. You can use your hand that's on your leg as leverage to pull to twist yourself deeper. Anything that feels sharp or uncomfortable, let it go back off. Listen to your body. Inhale, swing around through the center. And exhale, rest for a moment. One more time with the arms. Inhale, lift your arms over your head, touch your palms. And exhale, bring your hands into your heart center. Skip the twist, just bring some energy into your heart space. Then make your way onto your hands and knees, into your tabletop position. If you've got a blanket or a towel, you could always bring that under your knees, or if you want some cushion on your knees and you don't have that, you could fold your mat up and bring a little extra padding up underneath your knees. Create a fold in the mat. Then press into the floor with your hands to engage your arms and move your shoulders away from your ears and engage your shoulders. Flatten out your back. Now we're going to manipulate just the spine here. Keep your limbs strong and grounded. Inhale, let your belly drop down toward the ground. Send your tailbone and your gaze up. Exhale, round your back. Lift your spine up into the air. Let your head drop down. Inhale, let your belly drop. Pull your chest out in between your arms. Look up. Exhale, round your back. Open up your upper back, the back of your neck. Inhale, your cow pose. Open your belly, open your chest. Exhale, cat pose. Open your back and let your head drop. Take 2 more times through. Go at your own pace, flowing, linking one breath to one movement, finding some flexibility and fluidity throughout the entire spine. Let your whole spine be involved, from your lowest part in your tailbone all the way through your neck, your head. Let your gaze guide you and be affected by these movements. Finish up your last round. On your next inhale, come back to your long, neutral spine, and if you've got a fold in your mat, then undo that fold and come back to your hands and knees just for a moment, and then walk your knees a little further back toward the back of your mat. Let your hips drop down into a modified plank, so your body's in alignment and your navel is pulling in towards your spine. Bend your elbows and drop all the way to the floor on your belly. Inhale, lift your chest away from the ground. Keep your hands where they are. Use almost no weight in your hands. And exhale, drop back down. Press the top sides of your feet to the floor. Inhale, lift your chest. Use your back muscles to pull you up. Exhale, come back down. Last time for your cobra. Inhale, lift your chest. Option to let your hands float just above the floor. And exhale, fold back down. Press into your hands, bend your knees, make your way to your tabletop, just passing through. Then tuck your toes under and lift your hips high. Downward facing dog. Press into the heels of your hands and let the balls of your feet sink to the floor. Spread your fingers, spread your toes. And as you press the top of your mat away from you, lengthen your back, let your tailbone tip up. You could pedal out one foot and then the other toward the ground, or knees bending and straightening. Find a little movement if that feels nice. Inhale, look up toward the top of your mat. Exhale, walk your feet up to the top of your mat. Keep your feet hip width distance apart. Let your tailbone travel up and the crown of your head travel down for a little inversion here with your ragdoll pose. You could grab for opposite elbows. You could find a little sway side to side, or both, or neither, whatever feels best. For more space in your low back, you may want to bend your knees deeply. Feel your belly coming down to your thighs. If you're craving more sensation in the backs of your legs, you can start to straighten out your legs without taking your belly away from your thighs. If you grab for opposite elbows, switch your grip, put your other arm on top, just for a moment to even out. And let both arms dangle toward the ground. And move your feet together until your big toes touch each other. Roll up nice and slow into a tall standing position. Stacking your spine one vertebra at a time. Your head is the last thing to come up. When you reach the top, make any adjustments that you need to. Now we're going to start flowing, linking one breath to one movement, and really focusing on strengthening our connection through the feet and the lower legs into the earth. This involves a little bit of a balance challenge, so if you step to one side, if you wobble a little bit, it's okay. Just keep on breathing and know that wherever you are today, you're doing good work. You're going to get some lovely benefits. So on your inhale, float your arms out to the sides. As your arms come up, your heels begin to lift away from the floor. Press into the balls of your feet. Lift your arms up over your head. Exhale, draw your arms right back down and your heels come down to the ground. Do this with control. Let your heels sink. And when your heels sink, your arms come about halfway out. Then hinge at your hips. Dive down toward the ground for a swan dive. Let your arms drop and your head drop. Inhale, rise up just halfway, flatten out your back. You could take your fingers down to the ground or put your palms on your shins. On your exhale, lengthen out your spine and fold. Inhale, keep your heels down this time. Reach your arms up over your head as you stand up. And exhale, draw your hands together. Bring your hands into your heart space, Anjali Mudra. Okay, we're going to flow through this 3 times. Link one breath to one movement. Inhale, your arms start to rise, your heels start to rise, nice and slow and controlled. Arms come up, heels come up. Exhale, drop your arms out wide, your heels sink to the floor. Then hinge at your hips and drop toward the ground. Inhale, rise up just halfway, flat back. Exhale, relax and lengthen. Keep your heels down. Inhale, lift your arms up, stand up tall. Exhale, draw your hands into your heart center. Inhale, your arms come out again. Your heels begin to lift this time, floating away from the floor, arms lift. Exhale, arms drop nice and slow and controlled, heels drop. When your heels reach the ground, hinge at your hips and dive toward the floor. Inhale, lift up just halfway, flatten your spine. Exhale, relax, lengthen your spine. Keep your heels down. Inhale, reach your arms up, stand tall. Exhale, draw your hands into your heart space. Last time through. Inhale, reach your arms out and around, lift your heels, press to the balls of your feet, arms come up. Exhale, arms drop, and heels slowly lower all the way to the floor. Hinge at your hips and dive forward. Inhale, rise up just halfway, shoot the crown of your head out in front of you. Exhale, let your head fall toward the ground. Inhale, stand up tall, heels stay down, arms come up. Exhale, draw your hands into your heart center and stand tall. Take note of the sensation in your feet, your ankles, your calves. You may feel some slight heat beginning to creep through the soles of your feet up into your legs. Now we're going to take just half of that to come down toward the ground. So on your inhale, lift your arms up. On your exhale, hinge at your hips and fold. Inhale, quick halfway lift to reset the spine. Exhale, drop your palms to the floor, soften your knees. Walk your feet backwards and find your downward facing dog. Hips lifted up high. Inhale, lift your right foot off the floor. Exhale, step your right foot forward in between your hands and then drop your back knee down onto the ground and untuck your back toes for your low lunge with your knee planted. Now you want your front knee to stack over your ankle and your toes on your right foot point toward the top of your mat. Your toes are a good indication for your position of your hips as well. So here we want this sort of neutral orientation in the hips, which means the hips are both pointing straight toward the top of your mat, which means that your toes are pointing straight toward the top of your mat. Now to add a twist, keep your left hand down on the ground, or if you've got a block, you could slide it under your hand. Inhale, reach your right arm up into the air. Keep your knee over your ankle so your thigh might feel like it's tugging in. Expand your arms in your longest wingspan. One more inhale in your twist. Exhale, drop both hands down. If you've got blocks, you could take your hands to blocks. Walk your hands or blocks back. Shift your hips back. Extend your right leg. You could find a little bending and straightening. If your front knee doesn't quite straighten all the way, that's fine. You can bend and straighten a little bit, kind of rocking gently, very gently, forward and back. Or you can maybe even point and flex your front foot if that feels good too, to find your sweet spot. Make sure your hips line up, so you've still got this very neutral orientation and they're both pointing in the same direction. They're also in the same plane. So if you feel one hip is higher than the other, bring it down to line up so both hips are in one plane. Now let your toes point toward the top of your mat and soften your front knee. Walk your hands or blocks back out in front of you. Come back to your low lunge. And then if you've got blocks, you can scoot them out a little further. Walk your hands around to the inside of your right foot and flip your left toes over to the right. Then stand up tall on your knee. And this time your hips open up. So we found external rotation. So the hips open towards the side of your mat. Extend your front leg straight or straight-ish. You can take your right toes and point them out in front of you, or you could pivot them so they point the same direction as your hips. Slide your right hand down your leg. Avoid pressing into your knee. So if you want to feel pressure, you want to sort of use your hand as an anchor, just take it somewhere that's not right on your knee. Lift your left arm up and over. And find a stretch through your left side for your gate pose. Keep your hips moving away from your back heel, lifting up away from the ground. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, drop your hands and walk them toward the top of your mat. Bend your front knee. Flip your back toes back. Come all the way back to your low lunge. Tuck your back toes, lift your back leg. And step your right foot back. Find your downward facing dog. Rock your hips up high. Inhale, lift your left foot off the ground. Exhale, step your left foot up to the top of your mat. Drop your back knee and untuck your toes. If you're craving more sensation in your hip flexor, you could walk your back knee back. If it's overwhelming, you want less sensation, you're gonna walk your back knee a little further forward. Now keep your right hand down on a block or on the floor. Inhale, lift your left arm up into the air and twist your chest open to the left. Extend your arms wide and draw your shoulders down your back. One more inhale in your twist. Exhale, drop both hands to the floor or blocks. Walk your hands or blocks back and straighten out your left leg-ish. You could find a little rock of bending and straightening if that feels good. Or you could point and flex if that feels good. Keep your hips in line and in the same plane. So if your hands are down, you may feel the urge to look out in front of you, but this could cause some crunching in the back of your neck. So instead, find a little tuck with your chin to avoid crunching the back of your neck. Drop your toes, walk your hands or blocks forward, bend your front knee for your low lunge, then scoot your blocks just a little further out to the sides. And swish your right toes over to the left. Roll your hips open for external rotation. Move your hands around until you're facing the side of your mat and then stand up on one knee. Extend your front leg. It may not be perfectly straight, but straight-ish. You can either point your toes toward the top of your mat or toward the side. Slide your left hand down, reach your right arm up for your gate pose. Keep your hips rocking away from your back heel and avoid pressing directly into your knee. You could have your hand on your knee, but just avoid pressure into the side of your knee. Reach up and out through your right side. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, walk your hands around toward the top of your mat. Bend your front knee and make your way back to your low lunge. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Inhale, step your left foot back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bump your hips up high. Inhale, lift your right foot off the ground. Exhale, step your right foot up to the top of your mat. This time, keep your back knee lifted off the ground and take your left hand to the floor. Inhale, reach your right arm up for a twist. Exhale, drop your right hand down. Now you've got your hips in this neutral position, so they're not rolling open. Keep your legs strong, rooting down and grounded. Inhale, lift your chest away from your thigh, reach your arms over your head, find your crescent lunge. Tune into your back foot. Make sure that your heel is rising away from the floor. It may stack in line with your back toes. You may even feel a little stretch out through the arch of your foot. If this is uncomfortable for your hips, you could soften your back knee to draw your hips a little further underneath you. Make sure both hips face directly forward and your front toes point directly forward. Inhale, exhale, roll your back foot down to the ground and find some external rotation for your warrior two. So your hips open up towards the side of your mat and your chest also follows, so your heart points toward the side of your mat. Reach one arm forward and one arm back and balance out the reaching with both arms. So your front knee retains the bend and your front knee still stacks over your ankle. Your front toes still point forward, but now you've rolled your back leg so your toes point further around toward the outside. Inhale, reach out in front of you with your right arm. Exhale, drop your right elbow and rest it on your thigh. Reach your left arm up and all the way up and over so your bicep is by your ear. Now your bicep may be by your ear, but let your shoulder relax rather than squeezing up towards your ear. Inhale, find your warrior two, stand up tall, and then keep on going and take your right arm all the way up and over to reverse your warrior. Your left hand can track lightly down your back leg. Keep the bend in your front knee. Inhale. Exhale, move your hands all the way to the ground. Find your low lunge and spin your back heel away from the floor. Step your right foot back. And find your plank for a moment. And then shift your hips back and up and find your downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left foot off the floor. Exhale, step your left foot forward. For your low lunge, this time with your back knee lifted. Take your right hand down. Inhale, sweep your left arm high. Exhale, both hands come to the ground. Now strengthen through your legs. Really engage through your inner thighs like they're hugging together. Inhale, stand up tall. Reach for the sky for your crescent lunge. Your hips face forward. Your front knee bends to a 90-ish degree angle. One more inhale. Then on your exhale, burst open to your warrior two. So your back heel spins down and your toes roll out. They may not point all the way out. They may still be pointing toward the corner of your mat, but you're getting that external rotation because they're not pointing forward, so the hip finds some more room. Your hips open and your chest opens out. One arm comes forward, one arm goes back. Look out over your front fingertips. Inhale, reach with your front fingertips. Exhale, drop your elbow down to your thigh. Take your other arm up and over. So you've got a big, long diagonal line all the way from your back foot up through your side, all the way up and over. Inhale, stand up, reach your left arm high, reverse your warrior. Exhale, cartwheel your hands all the way to the ground. Inhale, step your left foot back. Hold here just for a moment in your plank. Press the ground away from you. Exhale, downward facing dog. Tip your hips up high. So anytime you want to skip your plank, by all means, feel free. Come right back to a down dog, or you could even come to a tabletop and then just pass through your down dog. So we're going to start flowing again. We're going to link one breath to one movement. So from your downward facing dog, inhale, lift your right foot off the ground. Exhale, step your right foot to the top of your mat. Inhale, lift your right arm up into the air for a twist. Exhale, drop both hands. Strengthen your legs. Inhale, stand up. Reach for the sky, crescent lunge. Exhale, burst open. Roll your hips open, warrior two. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, drop the elbow and lift the other arm up and over. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Take your arm over your head and give the back wall a high five. Exhale, cartwheel your hands all the way to the top of your mat. Inhale, step your right foot back. And exhale, sink your hips toward the back of your mat, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left foot off the ground. Exhale, step your left foot forward to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach your left arm up into the air. Exhale, drop both hands down. Inhale, stand up tall in your crescent lunge. Arms come over your head. Exhale, roll your hips open, roll your chest open. Inhale, reach out in front of you. Exhale, extended side angle. Drop your elbow and lift your other arm up and over. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Lift your left arm high. Exhale, drop both hands to the floor. Inhale, step your left foot back. Exhale, shift your hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right foot off the ground. Exhale, step your right foot up. Keep your left hand down. Inhale, reach your right arm high. Exhale, both arms come down. Inhale, stand up tall, reach for the sky. Exhale, roll your hips open, warrior two. One arm comes forward, one arm goes back. Inhale, reach out in front of you. Exhale, drop your elbow, lift your other arm up high. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Exhale, both hands come to the top of your mat. Inhale, step your right foot back. Exhale, shift your hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left foot off the ground. Exhale, step your left foot up to the top of your mat. Low lunge. Inhale, sweep your left arm high. Exhale, drop both hands. Inhale, stand up tall, both hips facing forward. Exhale, roll your hips open, your back heel comes down, warrior two. Inhale, reach out in front of you. Exhale, drop your elbow and lift your right arm up and over. Inhale, sweep your left arm up and over. Exhale, both hands come down. Inhale, step your left foot back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Hold here for a few breaths. Or you could come to a tabletop, you could come to a seat if you prefer a different resting position. Tune into your breath. It may have changed and that's okay. Just take some notes and find your steady breath again. So we're going to play a little bit more with starting in that neutral position and then rotating open to find external rotation. We'll come back to your downward facing dog when you're ready, if you lower down. Inhale, look forward to the top of your mat. Exhale, walk your feet forward to the top of your mat. And bring your big toes together. Leave a little sliver of space between your heels. Bend your knees, let your hips travel down toward the ground. Deep bend. Inhale, take your chest and your belly away from your thighs and bring your palms together in front of your heart for your chair pose. Now pause here. Tip your weight a little further back away from your toes. If you're clawing into the floor with your toes, see if you can relax them. Maybe they become buoyant. And if your legs are together and it feels good to squeeze your legs together to give you a sturdy foundation, great. If that's not for you, that's fine. You could even walk your feet a little further apart until they're like hip width distance, and that could be your chair pose as well. Now, pull your navel in towards your spine, and as your belly tucks in, lengthen your low back. So you're tipping your pelvis just a bit. A lot of times in chair, I see what I like to call duck butt. So like you've got a little tail, which is fine. It's common. But for me, it feels a lot more stable when I can pull the belly in and lengthen the low back just a little bit more. Not too much, you're not tucking all the way in tight, but just finding some extra space there. Now on your inhale, prepare for a twist. Then on your exhale, hinge a little bit deeper and turn your left elbow, hook it onto your right knee. Press your palms together and twist. And try to line up your heart with your hips. And press into your elbow, press your hands together. One more inhale. Exhale, release, find a forward fold. Let your head hang toward the ground. Now soften your knees, drop your hands, and step your right foot back for a low lunge. Now we've been here before, we're getting ready for our crescent lunge. So lift your back heel, strongly press through the bottom of the ball of your right foot, and rise up. Inhale, lift your arms up over your head, find your crescent lunge. Both hips pointing in the same direction. Now I'll offer you two variations for this next pose. This is your pyramid pose, so you can take a variation where your back heel remains lifted off the ground. You just straighten through your front leg and tip your hands down toward the floor, or if you've got blocks, walk them in, put your hands on blocks. I like to walk my back foot in a little closer and then let my back heel drop, so both heels are on the ground. So you could take a little wider legs, which might give you more space for a certain stretch here, or maybe you value a little more balance today and you want to bring both heels down, so you may walk your back foot in a little closer. You might even feel a stretch through the back of your back leg in this with your heel dropped. Either option is great and perfect. So point your toes in the same direction, so we've still got the neutral rotation of the hips here. Your hips are in one line. And if your heels are both down, you may feel like you're hugging in with your inner thighs and wrapping so your front hip is like coming a little, almost further back around, so your hips line up. Now soften your front knee. Maybe your foot came forward, so you might want to press it back a little further. Find your low lunge again. And press into your foot, lift your hands away from the floor. Find your crescent lunge. And roll your back foot down, open up for your warrior two. Then straighten your front leg, inhale. Exhale, reach out in front of you and drop your left arm, lift your right arm for your triangle. If you've got blocks, this block that's over here, you can pull it in so it nestles to the inside of your foot and put your hand on that block. If you don't have blocks, you could take your hand onto your ankle or your fingertips to the floor, or you could even float them. Flatten yourself out like you're a piece of toast in the toaster. So your heart and your hips line up. So if your heart's rocking forward, see if you can shrug your shoulders down your back and pull your heart back, your hips come forward until you're in one flat piece of toast. One more inhale. Soften your front knee. And find your way back to your warrior two. Hold here. Exhale and turn your hands to the ground. Find your low lunge. Inhale, step your left foot back. This time you have the option for a vinyasa. You could lower to your knees. And then tip forward, bend your elbows. Just like we did at the beginning, come all the way to your belly. Now you could always be in your down dog here. But if you're taking your vinyasa, you might take a cobra. Inhale, lift your chest off the ground. Exhale and press into your hands, bend your knees. Tabletop to down dog, tuck your toes, lift your hips. Inhale, look for the top of your mat. Exhale, walk your feet up to the top of your mat. Toes together. Inhale, bend your knees deeply, then peel your chest off your thighs. Hands come together in front of your chest for your chair pose. You may be finding some heat throughout your legs at this point. Just tune in while that's happening with your legs, your glutes, your quads. And can you feel this strong connection pressing into the earth? So anchor yourself, particularly through your heels. Your toes may even lift a little bit. Inhale, exhale, and hinge a little further forward. Then wrap your right elbow to the outside of your left knee for your twist. If your legs are together, then squeeze your legs together. Make sure your knees are together. And if they're not, that's okay too. You can leave some space so your feet are about hip width distance apart. Make sure your hips line up and press into your hands together. One more inhale to twist. Exhale, drop both arms and find a forward fold to hang down towards the ground. You can keep your knees nice and soft for extra space in your low back. Soften your knees, take your hands down, and step your left foot back for your low lunge. Strengthen your feet, your legs. Inhale, lift up, reach your arms over your head, crescent lunge. And then find your variation of your pyramid pose. Your front leg straightens, your hands come down. Your hands could come to blocks. If you want to drop your back heel, then scoot your back foot in a little closer, let your heel rock down to the ground. So both heels are down and all 10 toes are pointing in the same direction. Breathe deep. Breathe so deep you can imagine filling up your hips, your legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes with nice cleansing breaths. Bend your front knee, and if you scooted your back foot in, you may want to wiggle it back out toward the back of your mat. Find your low lunge again. Inhale, crescent lunge, stand up tall. Exhale, burst open to your warrior two. Your hips open up and your arms come one forward, one back. Inhale, straighten your front leg. Exhale, reach out in front of you, and then drop your right arm and lift your left for your triangle pose. Your hand can come to a block nestled in towards your foot, or it can come to your ankle, or float, or fingertips to the ground. Whatever feels best. Now keep your back foot engaged. So roll to the, all edges of your back foot are down. Engage your back leg, roll your top hip open, your top shoulder open. Press yourself flat, piece of toast. One more inhale. Exhale, bend your front knee. Lift up to your warrior two. Hold for your inhale here. Exhale, cartwheel your hands down, low lunge. Inhale, step your right foot back. Option for a vinyasa, you can lower knees, chest, chin. Inhale, lift your chest away from the floor. Exhale, make your way to your down dog. Inhale, take a look at the top of your mat. Exhale, walk your feet forward to the top of your mat with your big toes together. Bend your knees deeply. Inhale, take your hands in front of your chest for your chair pose. Exhale and twist to the right. Now you have the option for a little balance challenge here. So I'm going to show you, and then if it's not for you, that's a-okay, I'll show you another option. So you can pour some more weight into your right foot. Maybe your left heel lifts. In a swift motion, step your left foot back into a crescent lunge. Now, if this isn't happening for you today, that's fine. You can just release your twist, hands to the ground, step your leg back, and then make your way into your twisted crescent lunge. Press your elbow to your knee. Let your left heel remain away from the floor. Inhale, sweep your arms high for your crescent lunge. Exhale and tip your hands toward the floor. And this time, kick your back foot off the ground. And lift your back leg for your standing half splits. So your hands could have found blocks, or you could find fingertips on the floor. Find a little bit of stability with some hands on the ground or on blocks. Any height setting for those blocks. Make sure your hips are still in their neutral position here. So avoid rolling open. Both hips point down. Reach with your left toes. Inhale. Exhale and drop your back foot down to the floor. If you got blocks, you could walk them back. If you got hands on the floor, you could walk them back. And find your variation of your pyramid pose. So your back heel could stay lifted, and that might give you some more length. Or you could zip your back leg in, drop both heels, and find both feet firmly on the floor. And breathe. Breathe deep. Now shift your back foot back. Find your low lunge. Inhale, stand up, crescent lunge. Exhale, burst open, warrior two. Straighten your front leg, bump your hips back. Inhale, reach out in front of you. Exhale, triangle pose. Tick-tock your arms to 6 and 12 on a clock. So your left arm lifts, your right arm lowers. You could add a slight addition here in your triangle pose. You could take your top arm and fold it across the small of your back and roll your top shoulder open. Maybe your gaze even turns up. If you find anywhere that's uncomfortable or painful, let it go, find a different option. No need to stick with something that doesn't suit you. Let your front knee bend. Inhale, rise up, warrior two. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to the ground. Inhale, step your right foot back. This time you've got another option for a full chaturanga. You could take a high plank, bend your elbows to a low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Let your chest pull out in between your arms, pop your knees off the ground. Exhale, downward facing dog. So we continue to build, so you could always come right back to a down dog. You could take plank, then down dog. You could lower knees, chest, chin, and take a cobra. And now you could take high to low plank with an upward facing dog. Inhale, look for the top of your mat. Exhale, walk to the top of your mat. Big toes come together. Bend your knees deeply. Inhale, chair pose. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Exhale, twist. Over to the left this time. Press your hands together. Now you can either get ready for stepping back with your one foot, Or if that doesn't suit you, then that's a-okay. You can hold in this twist for a moment longer, then drop your hands and set up again with your leg back. If you're getting ready to step, pour your weight into your left foot. Maybe your right heel lifts, then slide or step your foot back. Lift your back heel away from the ground. Press your elbow to your thigh. One more inhale. One more exhale. Inhale, stand up tall, reach your arms over your head, crescent lunge. Exhale, tip your hands out in front of you all the way to either the ground or to blocks, and kick your back foot off the floor. Find some straight-ish knees. They don't have to be perfectly straight. A little micro bend might be nice. And kick your back leg back without rolling your hip open for your standing half splits. Let your head fall as your leg rises. One more inhale. Exhale, drop your back foot and set up your pyramid pose. If you've got hands on blocks or the floor and they want to stay right where they are, you could extend, or you could walk your hands or blocks back a little bit. Your back heel may find the floor or it may not. Soften your front knee, scoot your back foot back. Inhale, stand up, crescent lunge. Now burst open, open up your hips, external rotation this time. Your arms open up as well for your warrior two. Inhale, straighten your front leg. Exhale, bump your hips back, reach forward. And drop your left arm, lift your right. Find your triangle pose. If you've got blocks, you could draw a block into your hand. You could take your hand to your ankle or your hand to the ground. Hug your inner thighs in and flatten yourself out. Option to draw your top arm down your back. Maybe look up. Roll your shoulder open for a half bind. Soften your front knee. Inhale, rise up, warrior two. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to the ground, low lunge. Inhale, step your left foot back. Exhale, take whatever variation on a vinyasa or a down dog feels best. If you're moving, inhale to lift. Exhale, make your way back to your downward facing dog. Take note if your down dog feels any different than it did at the beginning of class. Maybe there's some more length in the backs of your legs. Your heels could dip down further. Maybe they don't, that's okay too. Take your last inhale here, and then on your exhale, drop your knees to the ground. And find your tabletop position on hands and knees. And sit your hips back for a child's pose. Extend your arms out in front of you, drop your head down. If your head doesn't quite reach the floor and you've got a blanket or a block, you could take that under your head. If you want some cushion between your hips and your heels, you could put a blanket or a bolster on your heels and then sit back. Reconnect to your breath, finding your sense of your steadiness. Your breath can always anchor you. You can come back again and again. So we're going to make our way into a seated position. So work your way into your tabletop, hands and knees, then sweep your knees to one side, sit onto one hip, and take your legs out and around to come to your seated position. And take your legs out in front of you in your seated position. Flex your feet, make sure your sits bones are rooting into the floor, nice and solid. You could even use your hands. Move your glutes out of the way to feel your sits bones anchoring. And move your right foot in towards you and plant it on the floor so your knee points up. Hold your right leg with your left hand. Right hand comes back and twist. To deepen your twist, you could take your elbow and hook it around your leg. You could even take your elbow and press to the top of your thigh and squeeze your leg in a little closer. You could take your gaze over your back shoulder, whatever feels best. If you find something that feels uncomfortable, let it go. Listen to your body. One more inhale. On your exhale, unwind, turn to face the top of your mat. Let your hip roll open so your knee drops out. Pull your right heel in towards your groin. Adjust so you've got both sits bones on the ground. Walk or slide your hands out in front of you and fold. You could find softness in your left knee. For more space in your low back, then you'll soften your knee more. If you're craving some stretch in the back of your leg, then you might have just a little bend in your knee, just a micro bend. You can grab a hold of whatever's available. Your foot, your leg, the mat. Walk or slide your hands back up slow towards your hips all the way up to a tall spine. Bring both feet in to touch each other for a butterfly position. So both hips roll open, both knees point out. You can grab onto your feet, ankles, shins. Lift up with your spine, inhale. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold. If your elbows are on your inner thighs, you could use them as gentle pressure to roll your hips open a little further. You're not yanking them down, just gently letting your elbows rest. Lengthen out the back of your neck. Let your knees, like magnets, be pointing toward the ground, pulling open. Inhale to rise up to a tall spine. Exhale, extend your right leg out in front of you. Pull your left heel in towards your groin. Adjust so both sits bones are anchored to the floor. And walk or drag your hands out in front of you. And fold. Grab a hold of whatever's available. Foot, ankle, shin, the ground. If you've got a strap, you can take a strap too. Around your foot, loop it around one side in each hand. Maybe you play with how much do you want to bend your right leg? Let there be at least a little micro bend. Walk or drag your hands back up all the way to a tall spine. Take your knee and point it straight up and plant the sole of your foot. Adjust both sides of your seat yet again, so make sure that you're sitting on both sides equally. Sit up tall and then twist. Take your left hand down to the ground and your right hand hugs your left leg, or your elbow hugs your leg, or your elbow presses to your thigh. You could gaze over your back shoulder, and both sides from left to right, it may feel very different. So you can figure out, do I want to emulate what I did on the other side? Or maybe it feels so different that I want to take a different option on this side, and that's a-okay. Nobody's symmetrical. One more inhale. Exhale, unwind, turn to face the top of your mat. Hug both your legs in. Give yourself a little hug. Then roll yourself down onto your back. Make your way back. And when you reach with your spine on the ground, go ahead and bring your knees in. You can hold one knee in each hand or one shin in each hand. And pull your legs in. This is your last opportunity for a little bit of movement before we find our final resting pose. So if some movement suits you, maybe you start to rock side to side, or you could squeeze and release your legs, roll around in little circles. Whatever feels good. The legs can move independently in circles or together. And feel how that affects your low back on the ground. When you're ready, no rush at all, make your way into your final resting position. Release your legs and extend them toward the top of your mat. Rest your heels on the ground. Rest your arms loosely by your sides. Turn your palms to face up. If you've got a different variation that makes you more comfortable, you could take that. Maybe that's propping up your knees, or even covering yourself with a blanket, resting your hands on your belly. Find somewhere that feels like true rest. Let your eyes close, or if that's uncomfortable for you, turn your gaze toward the tip of your nose and soften your eyelids. Let your whole face smooth out. Let your jaw relax. Let your tongue release. With each exhale, let something else go. Something that doesn't serve you, just let it float away. And as those things float away, rather than releasing and getting lighter, see if you can let that make you feel heavy. Every time you release something and it floats away, you have the chance to relax a little further and melt into the floor a little more. Each time you let something go and float away, just let it go physically a little more. Let your body relax and sink into the ground. Notice that the floor rises to hold you and support you. It holds you safe so you can relax all your effort and just melt. Without opening your eyes or awakening your gaze, just begin to come back, bring your awareness back to your body. It's a sensation of physical touch first. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin and your body sinking to the floor, the parts of your back body that are resting on the floor and the parts that are floating just above the floor. Get that total body picture again, just scanning through. Bring some little movements back. Start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. And let the sensation radiate up as you start to move your ankles, your wrists, and let the sensation travel up your arms, your legs. Stretch out all your limbs. Take a big long body stretch with your arms over your head. Hug your knees to your chest. Any way that makes the most sense to your body, make your way up to a comfortable seat. You could turn to one side and press with your hands, or you could rock and roll the length of your spine, whatever feels best. Make your way to a comfortable seat. If that includes sitting on a bolster or a blanket, then bring that over. Sit Sit up tall in your easy seat. And bring your hands together and plug your thumbs to your sternum. Shut your eyes or look down at your fingers. The light and love in me honors the light and love in you. Together we bow our heads and say Namaste. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Again, my name is Jojo, and I am happy that you could be here with me today. Happy that I could be here with you. So, if you have any questions or feedback, want to tell me how you feel, let me know. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.